Just take the seat in the front. We have a lot of great seats, the VIP seats. Yeah, you'll be here soon.
Test, test. Yeah. So we'll be having Token2049 this week and culminating with F1. And I believe this is one of the first events that we are kickstarting, and really excited that the event is actually about AI, and we have quite a few distinguished panelists with us today. So very excited. So let's get started by sharing a bit with you guys what PundiX is, what Pundi AIFX is, and then we will dive into three very exciting panels. The panels will talk about the trends in AI, how we can combine Web3 into AI, and also how the VC scene is viewing the AI. Right, guys. Okay, before I start, I would just like to have a show of hands. Who has heard of PundiX project? All right, cool. Thank you guys. And for those of you who are new to PundiX, we are actually a payments project from 2017, and we've been building a payments ecosystem for the physical network. And by certain metrics, we are actually the world's biggest physical payments ecosystem globally. So we're talking about physical OTC worldwide. And what we're doing right now is that we are also launching a new initiative called Pundi AIFX. How did Pundi AIFX actually came about? So we can take a look at how the timeline of Pundi is. We are actually, we started building since 2017, and at the same time, we also built a layer 1 protocol called FunctionX. And what we're doing right now is actually to reinvent the layer 1 protocol into a AI-centric project. Okay, so Pundi AIFX is a decentralized verified AI data processing layer and chain. So what it means is that we realize that there are a few verticals that AI is very interesting in. One is obviously the language model. So basically to build something to compete with OpenAI. Second is actually the agents model, which is to actually build agents on top of the models. And we realized that of all the projects, one of the big demand that those projects need is actually verifiable and quality data. So why don't we use the strength of decentralization, the strength of Web3 to allow people to actually tag data, contribute data, and also put those data on the blockchain, hence Pundi AIFX. All right, Pundi AIFX is actually the chain, and on top of the chain, we are building different protocols and projects. Pundi itself is building 3 projects on Pundi AIFX. One is actually a browser plugin. So the browser plugin allows you to annotate data of your Twitter feeds. So take for example, today I want to analyze data about, say, a influencer, all right? So for example, Dan's data feed. So I want to analyze to see whether those feeds are bullish, bearish, and what kind of data value that those tweets are able to create. I can go to this browser plugin and actually create a task myself. And I decide, hey, I want to pay $5 for those data sets. So once I create those data, it would actually be uploaded live into the plugin. And you'll be able to reach out to 25,000 people so far since the launch about 45 days ago. And for those people to actually tag and annotate your data. So today, for example, I want to annotate about Token2049's event. There's over 1,000 events. Which is the successful event? Is it maybe an event that is happening tonight? We know there's some exciting event happening tonight. Or what events are those? So you can actually utilize the browser plugin to tag data. Of course, it's not just limited to Web3. It is for anything that is on Twitter. Alright, so this is a screenshot of it. So someone by the name of Jin Tender actually logs into the browser plugin, and he or she can actually finish basic tasks, standard tasks, or expert tasks. Of course, once you finish the task, those 25,000 users will also be able to retweet if you want them to, and those tasks can be paid out in stables or the token of your choosing. Alright, so the best way for you to see is a video demo. So guys, let's take a look.
How to complete basic tasks on Purse Plus. Once you're signed into Purse Plus, you'll unlock a new dimension of engagement on X.com. The tasks available in your Purse Plus sidebar are categorized into 3 main levels: basic, standard, and expert. Let's begin with a basic task. Click the Start button under the Basic Tasks category. Here, you'll be presented with various posts from XCOM users and influencers. Simply like or dislike these posts based on your honest opinion. After making your selection, submit your choice and move on to the next post. You'll review 10 posts in total. Upon completing this set, you'll earn 20 Fugu points as a token of your contribution. You can choose to share your achievement with your network or dive into another set of tasks. All your activities will be recorded on-chain, ensuring transparency and security. How to complete standard tasks on Purse Plus. To begin, click on the Start button under the Standard Tasks category. In this task, you'll be asked to select the most appropriate tag for each post displayed. Carefully read the content and choose the tag that best fits. After tagging, click Submit and proceed to the next post. Successfully completing these 10 posts will earn you 30 Fugu points. How to complete expert tasks on Purse Plus. Expert tasks challenge you to engage with more complex tagging activities. Click on the Start button under the Expert Task category to get started. In these tasks, you won't just tag the entire post. You'll select specific words within the post and match them with the most relevant keywords from a provided list. For example, if a post mentions Bitcoin, you might select the keyword money as the most relevant tag. If the post mentions 7 days, you could choose time as the keyword. Continue selecting and tagging words in the post until you're satisfied. Once completed, click Submit and move on to the next post. Each set of 10 posts you complete in this category earns you 30 Fugu points. Share your progress or challenge yourself with more expert tasks. How to add posts to the Purse Plus system. You can contribute even further by adding posts to the Purse Plus system for others to review and tag. Each post you add earns you 1 Fugu point with a daily limit of 500 posts. To add a post, simply open the post you want to contribute. Once you've opened the individual post, you'll see an Add This Tweet button beneath it. Click the plus icon to add the post to Purse Plus data. All the added tweet generate your own invitation code. Beyond daily tasks, Purse Plus offers you the opportunity to expand your network and earn even more feel-good points. By inviting new users to join Purse Plus with your unique invitation code, you'll earn 100 feel-good points for each successful referral. To generate your invitation code, simply navigate to the Invite Friends section at the bottom of the sidebar and click Invite, ready to be shared with your friends and followers.
Right, so for those of you that are interested to do tasks or create tasks for your own tweet or even other people's tweet, just download the plugin and you can actually create it real time. In fact, you can actually create tasks about token and see what comes up. Alright, so another thing that we are launching, the second one, is actually a marketplace for people to actually upload data and for others to annotate and analyze those data. So what it means is that we want to create a very free and open place whereby companies like OpenAI, instead of hiring certain companies to actually do data annotation, why can't they just upload their data onto on-chain and also analyze data? So just out of curiosity, so gentlemen over here, so since you're in Singapore, what kind of like photos do you take? Yeah. Alright, Gardens by the Bay. So if the photos that this gentleman takes is actually new, right, he can actually upload those data onto the marketplace and for another person to actually annotate those data, right? So someone might actually sees it as a touristic location, but another photo buff might actually see it as a very unique blue color of the sky. So every data has its own unique data tagging, and what we are actually doing is allowing a marketplace for people to contribute data, tag data, annotate data, and for AI companies to procure data. Everything done on-chain so that you actually have ownership of the data. So that is actually the second product that we will launch in October, also utilizing the AI FX network. Yeah. Alright, so one more thing is that during the rebranding of FunctionX to Pundi AI FX, we are also renaming the layer 1 from FunctionX, which we helped launch in 2022, to Pundi AI FX. We are also changing the ticker to FX to AI FX, and it's safe to say that the exchanges that right now have FX, such as Coinbase, Bithumb, Upbit, etc., will also be working on this. And of course, we will also do a redenomination from 100 to 1 without dilution and without lockup, right? So for those of you that are interested to know more about Pundi AI FX, you can scan the Telegram and also install Purse Plus. So I think that's all from me, so I think we can get to the panel. Thank you guys. Yeah.
So we welcome the panelists on the stage. Zach Horn, Head of Marketing of Akash Network. Please, Zach. And Ian John, Developer Ecosystem Lead, APAC from Circle. And Tiffany Lai, VP of Ecosystem of OG Foundation. And of course, Zach,
spent some time with some of our builders who've been building the space across data, infrastructure, payments, and understand how they think about the crypto AI space. And like some of my own personal beliefs as well is that to understand crypto AI, you really need to be able to understand both AI as well as crypto in a very deep way in order to be successful as a product. So I think with that, we'll start to kick off the panel. I just want to make this very free-flowing, very open, so we'll probably have a Q&A session a bit later on, but if any time you have some questions, you want to have some opinions for what the panelists are saying, feel free to just raise your hands and we just get it, because I think we have a pretty nice small crowd today. So with that, we'll just go kick off some introductions. I'll just start very quickly. I'm Peng Yan, founder of Chain of Thought, very much as a research firm that's focused very specifically on crypto AI. So basically we look at, we do deep dives in various crypto AI startups, and we also run a weekly newsletter that really covers all the most important news in the crypto AI space. And then we have Zach over here.
Alright, so I'm Zach, co-founder and CEO of Pundi and also Pundi AI FX.
Hi, I'm Tiffany. I'm the VP of Ecosystem at Zero G Foundation.
I'm Zach Ward. I'm the head of marketing for Akash.
Hi, I'm Ian. I'm the lead developer of ecosystem for Circle.
Okay, great. So I think the biggest question, and I mean with this panel, what we want to do is give a very high level overview of how everybody's thinking about the crypto AI space. So maybe we'll start with Zach. I'd love to learn a little more and go down to the various panelists. Why is crypto AI important? Like, why do we need crypto component in AI? Can't we just do AI? Why do you see it as such an important part of what we are developing?
Right, so I think when we build AI solutions, I think it's very important to first ask whether you need the decentralized part. A lot of times you actually don't need it. So in those times, I think it's safe to just build on AI because that's the right way. But there are instances where actually the decentralized part actually makes a lot of sense. And in the AI FX angle, when data is actually uploaded or actually analyzed, it is actually much safer and actually much more forward-looking to actually have those data on IPFS, secure on-chain, so that the data owner, the data verifier, each has their own rights to the data. So I think that's really important. That's why we want to combine decentralization and also like AI, which at times, most of the times, is very like centralized. Yeah.
Right. So I think you come from very much like a data component of AI. I think we'll get into that a little bit later on. I just want to go on first to like Tiffany. So I know like you guys are doing stuff on the infrastructure layer. Like, how do you think about this? Why is that such an important part of crypto AI?
Yeah, so AI is poised to be, I think, an $800 billion market by 2030. And I think right now we're seeing the AI being controlled by a lot of centralized entities like Google, OpenAI. So I think right now it's really important to bring in decentralized AI, mainly because we can have more transparency. For example, that we don't know what the data is being put in, how it's being selected, if there's any bias. So decentralization solves a lot of that, having the transparency, like what Zach said, provenance on chain, but also there are other issues like by having everything end to end on chain, you can audit it, you can kind of see how to track as well. But with decentralization and Web3, you can also have incentivization, making sure that people are properly compensated for adding to the models and being able to attribute to it as well is a good plus from Web3 in our opinion as well.
Cool. Yeah. So I think it's that transparency as well as that potential way to sort of use economic incentives. It's a very interesting part. So I think just moving down the line with that, what do you think about like crypto AI? What's your just general thoughts and keeping it very open?
There was a great quote from Sergey the other day where he was talking about compute. What he said essentially is that there's no cap to demand for compute. So essentially, if you're Google, you're going and you're acquiring as much hardware as you can. You're trying to like just acquire as much as you can, do as much as you can in a short amount of time. So if you take that as like the macro view, you look at now where decentralized AI is, you you need it because you need democratized access to these resources. Like compute is fundamentally the most valuable resource that we have, and that's not slowing down anytime soon. Like you look at projections of how much compute is going to be needed with some of these models that are coming today and 10 years in the future. The question comes, if compute is as necessary as we all know that it is, where are you going to get access to that compute? Are you going to go to AWS? Are you going to go to GCP? Or are you going to be able to access it in a permissionless way on a network like Akash? So that's fundamentally what I see as the most important thing. There's lots of great use cases for crypto and AI, but below all of it is compute. So if you're a startup, if you're a researcher, if you're a developer, are you able to get the compute you need to do what you need to do with your AI training and fine-tuning at a price that you can actually afford? And fundamentally, that's just not the case outside of decentralized tech. So that's my take.
Yeah, and yeah, how do you think about AI? How do you use it as Circle? How do you think about the bigger ecosystem around it? What's your view?
Sure, I think Circle, one of the first new terms that I wrote about internally was how do we integrate AI into our workflow. So it's great. But I think the larger picture between blockchain and AI, I do think it's a bilateral relationship. We both need to need each other, right? So on one end, on the blockchain side, I'm just mentioning the interview again. When we keep talking about the next billion users in blockchain, where are we going to get the next billion users? Well, some project, I think you have builders here who might even be struggling getting the first 100 users, right? PMF is a real pain in blockchain. So ultimately what I think is that if you can use AI or agents to replace the demand or to subset the demand of, say, the use of blockchain. Right? So say for every one of us in the future probably will have more than one agent, handle different customer lines, right? So it could be a social aspect, work aspect, game aspect. Right? Maybe one person might have 5 agents for themselves, right? Looking at different functions. Every agent would then need to communicate with each other, to be able to with each other. And every person, let's say for example, instead of onboarding 1 billion users, you now have to onboard 20 million users with 5 agents that you put into blockchain. So how blockchain benefits from AI is that you now have this new pool of users, quote unquote users, that you can then benefit the agents, right? And why the agents need blockchain, to me in my opinion, is that humans, we have this social construct in society, right? We have this, why do we have queue poles at immigration lanes where there's a direct path ahead, but I have to go around the queue poles and do that nonsense, right? We have this pact that we're going to follow the rules, but agents might not, AI might not have that. So how do they interact with each other? They have to have this fundamental trust layer, and that's what blockchain is, right? And digitally, they can actually trust each other at scale, and I think that's why AI would then require blockchain. So I think it's something from the bilateral relationship.
Okay, and I think you brought up a very interesting topic, which is very around AI agents. I think that's going to be a very interesting space. It's very new. It's one of the technology connectors that I think we actually haven't seen happen yet until the last couple of years with these LLMs. So I think going back to Ian, what you said, so do you think USDC is going to be the currency that these AI agents are going to be used in the future? And feel free, if anybody has any other opinions, I think something else going to be used. What about the non-politically correct answer? What do you think?
So I say yes. So for the record, yes. But ultimately, I think just stable coins in general, right? So say, as humans, we don't, where do you store your funds? Where do you store your rainy day? Where do you want to use money, right? You don't actually store it in equities or forex or whatever is very volatile. You want to store it in a stable form where it's easily liquid, accessible, and you can use it on a daily basis. So for agents, if they have to have this form of digital currency that they can then use to transact each other, right? It could be a digitized version of compute network resources, but then you still have to have that base layer of value that everybody agrees on. At this point, at this moment, stable coins like USDC are probably the way to go at this point of time in the next foreseeable future until we have this new form of currency that denotes and digitized resources in the currency that we all agree on, right? I think stable coins will be good.
Does anyone have any other thoughts?
I think what Ian said is also because with agents, right, I think the first foray of agents will be financial services. So how can AI trade against humans, which definitely will be way faster. And I think that is also something that Web3 is very capable of. And I recently spoke to a DEX, a leading DEX on a leading layer 1. And what he said is that his biggest challenge or his that is also a very interesting use case, whether on the good or the bad side, that agents using AI will be very competitive in the Web3 space. So I think it's coming into Web3 whether we like it or not.
That's cool. Like, I mean, AI agents is actually very interesting because I've also been talking with a lot of people about what the use cases of AI agents are, particularly like on-chain AI agents. And I think like what Zach, you said, it seems like the financial use cases are probably going to be the first ones, like some kind of like yield generator using AI, some kind of like a DeFi protocol or on-chain hedge fund that uses like AI agents to pass off the on-chain data to actually create this. But because this is such a big space, I mean, I would definitely love to learn, like, do you all have any other, like Cash or ZeroG Labs, do you all use AI agents? Are you all thinking about AI agents in any, like, the infrastructure that you're providing? Do you see these providers or people building AI agents using your infrastructure on board? I mean, I'd love to hear like any views that you might have on this.
I think there's a lot of people focused on AI agents right now and figuring out like what are the first use cases going to be. I've heard financialization, financial aspects often, but fundamentally, if you're running an agent, you need to run it somewhere, right? You need the compute to power those agents. The interesting thing in my mind is if you have a permissionless marketplace like Akash, essentially you can deploy on Akash without permission. Everything is, you don't need a password or anything. You just need a wallet. The question becomes, if you have an agent, can it access the compute it needs autonomously? Essentially, can it self-replicate? Can it provision its own resources? And then do you see a world where essentially you have agents permissionlessly accessing compute, scaling up and down as they need to? And that's only possible with decentralized permissionless networks. So that's my high-level take on agents. I think we're just a little bit early, but it's definitely coming.
And at ZeroG, I think a big problem that we're still trying to solve as Web3 is enough storage or DA to even power Web3 projects right now. So I think to compare right now, it's probably like 10 megabits per second. I think in order for AI to be on chain, that's like around 50 gigabytes per second for it to actually run these models and have these things on chain. So at ZeroG, we're solving that fundamental first principles problem right now, which is making sure that the storage, the DA is fast enough for that to happen. But when that does happen, there's a lot of cases like financial use cases, or even a lot of gaming projects are looking into AI agents for world building, DeFi trading. All of these things need DA and throughput and storage. So we're kind of trying to solve that problem first before that could be even possible.
I just want to add on a bit more color with the use cases as well. So for me, I handle the USDC grant program. So I do see a lot of new projects that are coming up. They're what they're building for, and AI is definitely encroaching the pie in which they are applying for the grant program. Some interesting use cases are the use of using of agents to monetize IP, right? So say for example, a professor in say a well-known university probably have like students coming in and out 4 times a year, and they're answering the same questions every time, right? They don't want to do that. So what they do is they train up and they spin up an agent, and then the agent will help interact with the base level, and they monetize from there, right? They monetize. Another one is it's a bit not safe for work, but like AI girlfriends. Yeah, I mean, it's a huge market, right? So what they do is that all these influencers, your OnlyFans and all your influencers basically will spin up the agents or the versions of themselves and interact with their fans, and they can monetize from there as well. So those are two, usually IP and knowledge is where I see also an interesting uptake in use case for agents as well.
No, I think that's super cool. Like, I think the creator side of things is going to be very big, and it's going to be a very big driver of AI agents. I'm not sure if you saw, there was a tweet that was going around like recently about how these like OnlyFans creators are actually making more money than the entire NBA, all of the NBA players combined, right? Which is pretty mind-blowing as a statistic. So I think like shifting gears a little bit, right, and stepping back a bit of a higher level, I think we've talked about a lot about the potential of crypto and AI, how they all can join together in terms of offering a more transparent, more permissionless way. I think the economic part of it is also a very big part about how we can facilitate payments between agents or use economic incentives, like what Zach was talking about earlier in his keynote, about we incentivize people to do important things that are required for AI. But I'm curious, like in your own work, what do you all see as the biggest barriers to crypto AI adoption? Like, It can be anything. Do you think like, is it a technical issue? Is it just very difficult to build crypto and blockchain components into AI? Is it more of a mindset shift? Do people still think of like crypto as a bit scammy? What do you see as the biggest challenges in the sort of like crypto AI space? And maybe Zach will start with you again.
Sure. Since Ting, when you mentioned that, the first thing that came to mind was that maybe AI is the chance for crypto to redeem itself, right? So AI is now very centralized. Only researchers, Fortune 500 companies can use AI. And even when I use ChatGPT, I have to pay for it. So 99% of the people are not able to touch AI. You know, maybe if you count watching OnlyFans as using AI, then maybe yes. But 99% of the people will not be able to touch AI. So what we want to do is democratizing AI, whereby others can actually get involved in AI. How can I contribute? So for us, it's really to build something that is very Web2 friendly, very normal people friendly, so that the person can actually go to the marketplace and actually tag a Pokemon that he knows where others don't. So he or she is actually contributing to AI, and at the same time, he's being paid out in, say, USDC. So that's a way for people to, hey, you know, I'm actually getting crypto in a legitimate and also positive way. So perhaps AI will be something that Web3 companies can embrace, and also for Web3 to be much more mainstream, which is something that Pundi has been really trying hard to achieve. So I think democratizing and also redeeming itself, you know, that's the chance, yeah, I feel. Yeah.
Just to add on that, like, what would you say was the biggest challenge you had in getting to there? Like, was it difficult to get people to understand how AI works? Just wanted to hear like your own experience in terms of the barriers of adoption of like crypto AI.
Sure. So we work a lot on the ground. So Pundi started as a physical OTC. So we work a lot on the ground, and in markets whereby people aren't really, trying to understand what is a layer 2 or layer 1, whatever. They just want to sell their, for example, Turkish lira for USDC. So that's their objective. They are not there to understand Trust Wallet or Trezor, or I need a 5 confirmation. So I think we need to approach AI the same. So for the first person who used the AI product, we have to abstract that Web3 component and even the AI component. So it's basically for you to do a task, and that task allows you to have a revenue profit of X amount of things. It could be even something physical, whereby you go to your 7-Eleven to actually exchange for a Coca-Cola for you if you do that task. So I think abstracting that in real life is the key component, yeah.
And Tiffany, what do you think about this? What are some challenges you think like crypto AI has, or you've personally encountered like at Zero G Labs?
I agree with everything that Zach says in terms of abstracting and making it for the consumers. I think overall the space is just a little bit early. If you're talking to a lot of AI projects right now, building right now, I think everyone's saying that we're around 2 to 3 years time in terms of the infrastructure for it to be really adoptable for mainstream, but also like Zach said, figuring out how we can educate people as well for web AI companies to learn about decentralization. I think a lot of it is going to be bringing AI on chain to crypto versus just getting all of crypto and making it crypto AI. I think in order for to reach critical mass, we still need people in traditional AI to come in.
So it's really about bringing in more people from the more traditional space to understand about crypto and how it can actually benefit their products. So that's interesting. So I think going to Zach, like I think Akash has been around for quite a while. We've been building for quite a number of years already. So I think you all accumulated quite a bit of experience like in the crypto AI space. Like what do you think are the challenges ahead, and what is main problems you see facing the industry?
I think the problems are surface, as in there are UX challenges. I think we see that all the time, right? It's difficult to get started a lot of the times, especially if you're not already crypto native. If you're starting from scratch and let's say you want to deploy on Akash, it can be challenging. But the flip side of that is that all of those problems are solvable, right? You can build through all of that. You just need to figure out exactly what the UX pain points are and then build the solutions that get people over those UX hurdles in a better way. A lot of that's already coming. I mean, that's within Akash and things that I see just out in the ether at other projects. the UX is getting much, much better. So I don't think there's anything fundamental to the space that's holding it back. That's my view. I'm just very bullish on the space. I think all of the short-term challenges are UX, and I think we're solving those challenges, and I think the space is going to accelerate considerably in the next 5 years.
Great to hear a very bullish view on where this space is headed. Yeah, and Ian, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think the biggest roadblock, I think, is the talent pool. Because I think for the past years where we have multiple bull runs and bear run, the bear cycle, blockchain has always been struggling to adopt and onboard Web 2 to Web 3 developers. Right? It's still very, very limited pool of Web 3 developers. Now with AI, it's so much sexier that new developers are also then jumping straight into AI, and they're just like, what am I learning blockchain for? So I see it both as a roadblock, but also an opportunity, because if you are a blockchain company that's employing AI, now you can now attract developers to come in because of your AI component, and then kind of like, you need to learn blockchain too, surprise, that kind of thing. So I think that will be it. I think for us, we mainly focus on DevX, because again, for us, we don't just have stablecoins, but we also have SDKs and APIs to build out integrated wallets, right? And we want to make it as easy as possible for developers from Web 2, right, with their own language that they're already familiar with, to already deploy in Web 3 and see the benefits of it. Then they'll continue to deepen their knowledge on Web 3, right? Similarly for AI, I do see all of no-code, low-code tools projects out there as well that actually help to kind of like make it easier in terms of the UX side that you mentioned. I think those are the things that I see a lot of projects are doing, and I see there might be a roadblock, but there might also be an opportunity.
Yeah, no, I think you brought up a very good point. Like, actually, just last week, I was having coffee with like Jason Choi from Tangent, and we were talking about like crypto AI. And I think one of the things that we kind of see as a big challenge in the industry is that how do you attract the right talent to actually want to build in crypto AI? Especially, I would say, like machine learning engineers, like the top AI researchers, because many of them, there's not a very big reason for them to actually to go into crypto AI. And basically they are being paid in some very well in all of these like top research labs, right? So the interesting thing is that crypto has always been, I feel, has always been a very push kind of an industry where, unlike say like mobile or social media, where basically it naturally generates a lot of productivity, crypto is a movement. It needs to come from people who actually believe in the philosophy of an open, transparent, democratic system, and we need to constantly push that narrative in order for this crypto and crypto AI to sort of gain traction. So I just thought that was sort of a bit of an interesting insight. So I think we're coming close to the end of the panel. We just got a couple of minutes left, but I want to open it up to the audience. Like, does anybody have any questions that you want to ask like any of our speakers over here? It could be any topic around like crypto AI, it could be about what they're doing, but yeah, I'm just kind of like throwing it up. If you have any questions, just let me know. Any? Oh yes, for the lady over here.
Hi panelists, what are the infrastructure and tooling needs do you think will be helpful for the growth of this ecosystem for AI crypto?
Yeah, so just to repeat for everybody, what do you see as some of the infrastructure and tooling needs that you see that we require for crypto AI to sort of like really take off? Anybody wants to give that a go?
I'll take an Akash specific viewpoint. So fundamentally, Akash exists. All the resources are there. I think if we look at what we need in the next year or 2 years, we need to make it easier for people to get started. So there's things that we can do, right? Like there's CI/CD workflows, there's ways to do payments that are just much more simple. I think a lot of that, once we get in place, it just makes it so simple to get started. But that goes back to the UX point from earlier. But that's what I would say. Just whatever we can do to make UX as easy as possible, reduce the barriers to entry, I think that's what's needed.
In terms of the zero-G side, is just scalability. Scalability of the DA, of storage, making it cheap and available so that it's competitive to Web 2 and traditional AI.
And just on that, like, do you think scalability is something that's going to come relatively quickly, or is it we're still going to need a couple of years to get to the stage where it becomes actually useful?
Yeah, in terms of like from zero-G's technology, we have AI. Making AI on chain as kind of the main goal. So in terms of our modular tech stack, being able to have all the storage, the DA serving layer all interact separately, we're able to kind of infinitely scale that. So it is coming already. It's just onboarding the right people and making sure that they believe that it is possible. I don't think people put a lot of stuff on chain because of how slow it is right now, but with the technology, it's possible to do that.
Got it. Any other views? If not, yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Probably like power. I think right next like the rawest part, which is your power infrastructure. So I think I read some astonishing number that like a couple of data centers is really consuming electricity of like cities, right? So like how do we continue? You mentioned that there's no limits in terms of like the need for processing and power and all that. So I think that's my main concern, right? I mean, you definitely need to look at how do we make it more sustainable. The use cases are great and exciting, but we don't want to decimate everybody else in terms of the power that we need. So that's my main, my negative part of what I see, the dystopian part of what this conversation is.
I think it's also what Singapore is struggling with. So I mean, Singapore is trying to attract blockchain, but not mining. And then like by attracting AI, you know, now Singapore data centers is like super packed, and so I think power is a very, very big issue in Singapore. Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of.
No, I doubt like. I mean, Singapore is just very land constrained. Right? I doubt we'll have all these like mega data centers over here in Singapore, unless like maybe we reclaim a lot of the land around this space. You know, also. Or Johor, okay, maybe, maybe our partners. Okay, any other questions? Does anybody have? I think we can definitely do one more question. Yes, gentleman over here.
Hi, what are the best solutions you've seen implementing ML agents in the current limitations of blockchain?
When you say ML agents, are you referring to just like AI agents in general, or? For gaming specifically, okay, interesting. Any thoughts like AI agents, ML agents in gaming? Have you seen like any of these kind of like companies or use cases that have come to you?
Yeah, I think right now they're using mainly AI agents for world, like I said, world buildings, like NPCs, and making sure that can all be built seamlessly. Because right now a lot of it's very manual, or they have to program it. With AI agents, they can, you know, they have millions of different storylines that they can create. So I think they're creating that right now. It's whether or not it's going to be put on chain.
I think I mentioned earlier, I think one of the most interesting use cases are the IP side. So I think when I was in Seoul, I think a week back during KBW, I spoke to someone from Line as well, who actually is gonna they actually launched their own blockchain, right, which is KayaNet, and I think they're gonna open up like using IP and using like potentially agents as well to kind of like see how we can deliver a different kind of experience for their users, because they already have 200 million users, right, worldwide. So how do they actually use the combination of that? Another one would be, like I said, the AI girlfriend thing, or the professor education side. I think in terms of IP and knowledge-based transfer and then scaling that knowledge-based distribution, I think that's one thing that I'm quite excited about, because that solves a lot of bottleneck issues, especially on the education space. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, and maybe I just on that, I saw there was one company called Virtuous Protocol. I think they used to be like PathDAO, but basically they are building this sort of like marketplace for like creators to people to build like these AI agents that can be used and pulled into different games. So I think they shared with me like this like GTA sort of like demo where basically you can actually interact with all these like different agents, and these NPCs actually have a little bit more, you can do more with them. You can actually ask them. And I think like this demo that they put together was you needed to like solve a certain mystery and quest, and then with that you have to interact with all these different AI agents by asking them the right questions and having them give you the clues that you need. So I think it's a very interesting way of sort of like building greater interactivity into these like sort of like open world sort of like systems, like many of our panels have said. So I think with that, we sort of like come to the end of this very first panel. And I think the goal of this was really just to give everyone a very high level overview of like what crypto AI is. And I think in the subsequent panels, we're going to go into more specific areas within crypto AI. So can we just give all of these panelists here a hand? thank for their time and sharing their expertise over with us. I think they're all going to be here around, so please feel free to approach any of them, any of us, like if you want to chat a little bit further on AI on that. So, yeah.
Thank you, Tan. Thank you, all our panelists. Very good overview of the blockchain and AI. And the next, we are going to dive into the very important part of the AI, which is related to compute, which is the power. So let's welcome Greg Osuri from Akash Network to present Compute, Past, Present, and Future.
Can I get a clicker? That's not gonna work. I mean, there are 33 slides that
You want to
go with my conversation. It's gonna be impossible for me to tell you. Can I get the laptop there?
connect it to the screen? So maybe you can click.
Is there a clicker? Thank you. We're gonna get started real quick here. If folks in the back want to come to the front, I would really appreciate it. This is the first time I'm giving this talk, so help me out here a little bit. We're just waiting on the clicker. Yeah, quick show of hands. How many of you here heard about Akash Network? Awesome. How many of you used Akash Network? Not many, huh? Okay. How many of you are developers? At least all the developers use Akash, which is exciting. Awesome. Are we ready? Okay, fun little question. How many of you here use AI at least once a week? Only half the room? Why is half the room even here then? Hello, people in the back? I'll repeat the question. How many of you here use AI on a weekly basis? 75% of the room is paying attention. How many of you use AI on a daily basis? Wow, okay. Okay, well that's good. Awesome, I see some good hands there. Okay, today's talk is about compute. The present, past, and the future. Really, what, we used to do these talks, 2017, 2018 timeframe, to remind ourselves, why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we here? For some reason, lately, it's all been DePIN and deAI and, layer 10s and whole lot of things that came on top of, all these things we built over the years, but we've somehow forgot the essence of why we're here to build decentralized systems. And really want to walk you through a bit of history, why we're doing what we're doing, how we got here, and where we're going. My name is Greg. I am the founder for Akash Network and the CEO for Overclock Labs. I'm a developer. I've been writing code for about 25 years. In the last 15 years or so, I've been doing primarily developer tooling. Prior to Akash, I founded a company called AngelHack. AngelHack is probably the biggest hackathon in the world. We helped several companies there, the biggest one being Firebase, which got acquired by Google, became Google Firebase. The software I've written have gotten some, recognition. I was trending as number 4 developer across Golang. Golang happens to be a very popular language for writing infrastructure software and also crypto software. Geth stands for Go ETH, which is the most popular client for Ethereum. Also been ranked on number 13 for the software it wrote. A lot of the software became the standard infrastructure software that is used by NVIDIA and AWS, Department of Defense, a whole lot of companies. In fact, I was the only human being here in the top 10 between Google and Mozilla, looks like. You know, if you think about it, computation, the modern version of computation dates back to the mainframe era, right? I mean, this is after Charles Babbage and Ada Lovelace. We are skipping all that, but straight coming to the real computation that was used for at scale really began with mainframes where people had to go to the compute in order to use. That's as centralized as it gets. And over time, with the power of PC, really, that shifted to more decentralized usage. So now the compute came to us instead of we going to the compute, right? And that unlocked a whole new era called the internet, because internet is essentially a network of networks that led to a distributed network built on open protocols. And then this obviously gave birth to a whole new era of economies, and you know, the Googles and the massive trillion-dollar companies were built out of this era. And somehow we ended up with centralization again, right? With the advent of cloud computing. What drove to this centralization? Really, it's the convenience and scalability. And you can see here the amount of money that we spend on cloud data centers outweighs the amount of money we spend on anything else when it comes to compute. And today, hyperscalers spend close to 70% of all the IT budget done by really 4 companies. So if you think about it, what happens when few companies spend so much money on acquiring hardware? The hardware is now built for these companies, and we lose sovereignty as a society. And this centralization is not exactly great, you know? Why? Because they hoard resources. There's a story in Semaphore, which is a very popular popular mainstream magazine. In fact, this is a story that came out about a year ago, the first positive story about crypto. It really talks about the negative side of AI. I mean, how it's nearly impossible to get AI chips. You know, if you did any AI development, of 7 people here in the room knows what I'm talking about. It's nearly impossible to get H100s, A100s, the high density chips you need for AI. And this story talks about this student from Columbia who's struggling to get A100s to do training, was able to come to Akash and actually get A100s. And that student ended up founding a company whose company got acquired by NVIDIA. So it's a very interesting story about that really gets into the shortage of GPUs that was created by this centralization, because Amazon, Googles of the world really choose who gets to do AI by giving access to those chips. That's just the pinnacle of the problem we have with access, right? And look at the costs. I mean, today, if you use an online service, 50% of every penny you pay goes to one of the cloud providers. And Andreessen Horowitz did a study that analyzed S1 filings of public companies and looked at the profit margins. Look at companies like Asana, where 63% of the fees actually goes to one of the cloud providers. Companies like Palantir, which is the national defense contractor, one of the most successful ones, about close to 40% goes to a cloud provider. All of us, no matter what sector we are in, half of every dollar we spend goes to an invisible layer, or the cloud tax, we call it, and we don't realize we are paying this cloud tax. And recently, we all have experienced, the famous CrowdStrike. Thousands of people were stranded in the airports, without food, without hotel, because of one engineer in one company pushed bad code to production. And that's how much of visibility we have into this like massive structure that I never heard of CrowdStrike before this happened. Like, how many of you heard of CrowdStrike before the outage? Quick show of hands. One person. But we all experienced what happened during CrowdStrike, right? I mean, God forbid you were traveling. I mean, 7,000 flights just from Delta got stranded or canceled, just from one airline, right? So that's an example of what happens when you have this invisible layer that dictates how we live, how we fly, how we eat, and that we have no control over. And the other really impact of the cloud is not only that this layer that collects taxes and is very unstable and whatnot, but what they're doing to companies that want to innovate, right? They effectively create competitive moats that's impossible for new entrants to come. We call this oligopolies, right? And Amazon currently is under investigation by the FTC for the antitrust practices. You see a lot of stories about how Amazon is stifling open source software, essentially stealing the business model by hosting or white labeling open source software. That leads to literally uncompetitive practices for anyone to go to compete in this area. Sorry, this clicker. Can we reduce the slide for some reason? Yeah, so the big takeaway is this heavy centralization leads to higher costs and terrible access to the resources that leads to economic inefficiencies and escalating costs that we see today. And what happens? What happens? We continue this path. Well, the big situation is we have this new era called digital feudalism, right? Where feudalistic societies where you had lords, few people control access to the most important resources. We are getting to that point. I don't know if you saw this interview from Larry Ellison yesterday. He talked about needing $100 billion to do AI training and needing to build their own nuclear reactors to power AI data centers. And when these are the digital lords we are going to be bound to. If we need compute, we need to ask these people to do AI. If you think AI, 70% of you here in this room said you use AI on a weekly basis. We're all peasants. This is the path we're going towards. And this is the future where only wealthy corporations can control access to who gets to do AI. You will be rationed, you will be provisioned, and you will have to answer to our new digital lords. That's the future we're going down if we don't decentralize sooner. Of course, this growing frustration leads to this sentiment that we have with concentration of power, and hence we have this new layer of digital or decentralized cloud solutions. Well, decentralized compute represents a return of the internet founding principles that we originally began with. It is possible, and a case study, a case study I'll get into a little bit. Okay, we get? All right, so imagine a world where computation is free and accessible as the air we breathe. We believe compute should be a public utility, like air, like water, like all the resources that we don't need to seek someone's permission to use. And the world is actually healing, right? I mean, this is a map of the DePIN sector. DePIN stands for Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Networks. As you can see, all different layers of cloud is getting decentralized, all the way from storage to compute networks to a good portion of machine learning, protocols. We're seeing with bandwidth networks, we're seeing with energy mobility networks, a whole different components in the cloud are getting decentralized, and there's quite promise here. And I want to get specifically into, apologies. Seems to be a little problem here. Specifically into Akash network. Akash is the world's first decentralized cloud infrastructure network, or the super cloud we call it. By tapping into underutilized resources, Akash is able to build a layer that's federated access. And the way it works is really simple. Users specify their their need or their workload in something called an SDL file. They post that on chain, an order gets created, and providers that have underutilized supply, usually bid for this workload, and the winning bid gets selected by the user. And Akash today is used by numerous companies. I mean, the biggest one being NVIDIA. NVIDIA, Akash, I believe, is the only protocol integrated into NVIDIA products. Today, you can actually go to NVIDIA Brev and deploy an Akash instance. Companies like News, Prime Intellect, News Research is one of the top AI companies that recently figured out how to do distributed training, and a whole lot of AI companies, be it Venice, and Venice is one of my favorite examples where it's used for Venice is a censorship-resistant, a privacy-optimized AI chatbot where if you go to ChatGPT, where you have to, which actually remembers what you did, Venice doesn't really remember anything. It's very private, so you have the sense of, the privacy that you don't get with regular chatbots. Now deployed on Akash. We had a record quarter. Akash, the growth has been phenomenal, especially since the GPU introduction. Obviously, this quarter or the last quarter, we had about 27,000 leases. Leases is how you calculate our. Lease is essentially an application that's deployed. We have about 27,000 applications that were deployed in last quarter alone. Before I close, I want to give you something to remember. As we stand on the crossroads of technological advancement, the choice is really ours. To continue down the path of centralization or embrace decentralization and unlock a new era of innovation and empowerment. With that, I'll take any questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Greg. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. Just want to say, I'm totally with you on the philosophical argument of decentralizing of these networks, making it fault tolerant. I'm curious how you see the economics of this. What makes compute cheaper on, say, Akash and these decentralized networks compared to, say, AWS?
Yeah. So I think I went through quite a lot here. So some of the cost efficiency we get in Akash, apples to apples, right? Akash costs about 80% cheaper than Amazon, right? And the way you're able to get this is because Akash taps into underutilized resources, whereas Amazon, you're actually building new resources and new data centers, right? So with GPUs, in fact, H100s on Akash cost $1.49, whereas the same resource would cost, I think, $5 on Amazon. H100s are the most advanced chips that you can that are required to do AI. So yeah, so that's the advantage you get versus Akash versus others. Any other questions?
All right. Any questions?
Thanks.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you very much for your presentations. So for the next sections, we will have the panel discussion on data ownership in the AI era. Oh. Yeah, okay. Before that, we will also have a presentation from Ian Zheng, Circle, to talk about developer program.
Hello. Am I standing between your lunch and no, right? There's no lunch yet, right? Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to keep it super simple. My name is Ian. I'm the lead of developer ecosystem in APAC and India. My main role for Circle is to work with early stage projects who are working in the blockchain space within the region, within APAC and India, who wants to build with Circle. And I'm more than happy to support you guys with our resources, our marketing, and also I execute the grant program
So if you're interested to work with us, please reach out later. Right, so today, a quick intro about myself. My background, I've always been doing dev ecosystem building since 2015. Ran 50 plus hackathons, being part of like accelerator programs for governments, for corporates, did corporate venture before. And I used to be on the dark side. So if you're a founder or you're an investor, I used to be part of your team. I came over to the light, which is more on the building aspect. So happy to be back. Yeah, so again, I know it's going to be crazy later, right? So if you guys are interested to build with Circle and want to kind of like talk to me after the event, even after you leave for home, I'm more than happy to speak to you. So feel free to scan the QR code and then follow the steps, test out our dev console, and then reach out to me on Telegram. It's going to be crazy the next week. I think 1,000 events, right? So yes, it's mad. Okay, so I'm going to quickly cover three main things. One is what is USDC? And more importantly, what use cases is USDC for? And in your aspect, if you're all AI-related builders, how can it apply to you? Second is what is Circle Platform, which is even more interesting. And lastly is how do we support projects, which is through our grant program or credits program. Keep it super simple. So before that, how many of you, raise of hands, heard of USDC before? Awesome, great, we're doing a good job. Keep your hands up. How many of you heard of Circle before? Lesser people, okay, can. So how many of you know of Circle Platform? Oh, that's good. Yeah, nice. Oh, awesome. Thanks for supporting. So, we don't just do USDC, right? We have other stable coins as well. It's called EuroC, which is MiCA compliant recently. And more importantly, we have the Circle Platform, which I'm going to share a bit more later. So very simply, what is USDC? For the folks who are not familiar yet, we are actually combining the dollar stability of the US dollar with the blockchain efficiency. So this is particularly important for, say, if you are transacting with your agents, for example. Agents are not going to sleep. They're not going to go offline. They need to be able to transact 24/7 real-time settlement, right? So what we did was we combined the stability of the US dollar. Is regulated, is widely used in both Web 2 and Web 3 spaces. We combine it with the efficiency of blockchain, which means it's 24/7 available, it settles almost immediately, and is very marginal in terms of transaction costs. So this at scale is going to be very important and very crucial if your agents are transacting at a very fast speed, right? So I think one of the questions earlier for the panel is, what does stablecoin, are agents going to be using stablecoins? Yes, in the near future. So again, for USDC, for those who do not know, I think right now we are close to 35 billion in circulation supply. Every USDC that is issued, there is $1 in our reserve backing it. So it's always one-to-one redeemable. We are constantly audited, a little bit too much, but it's necessary. But we are constantly audited. You can go to our website and check what is the balance supply right now. I think it's close to 35 billion right now. So I think more interestingly, what are the use cases for USDC and stablecoins? So I think if you're building a project or thinking of building a project, right, these are some interesting use cases that's happening in the developing world, beyond DeFi, beyond your trading, beyond your investments, right? One of it is inflation battle, right? How do you actually manage inflation? Not so much in Singapore, but if let's say you're in Latin America, you're in Africa region, for example, Southeast Asia, your currencies basically is devaluing on a day-to-day basis. So I know of like families who save their family savings for their kids' education. After 10 years, they still do not have enough to actually pay for education for their kid, right? So what they do currently is they take their local currency, they go and get US dollar, right, the fiat version, but it's not easily accessible, which means they have to go talk to like your black market. They have to get con. They have to pay 10-15% spread on accessing the US dollar, which is why a company like Lemon is using USDC to offer US dollar, the same stability to these families at a much lower rate, much safer and much more regulated, right? So this is one of a very strong use case. If you are building an app, that could be something or a use case. This could be a use case that you can look at. Second is remittances. So this is more B2B, or maybe I would say freelancers to B, right? So what happens is, say if today you are doing consulting work and you're consulting a company in say US, or you're actually sending money to the US, or you're dealing with a supplier in India, for example. Currently right now, remittances fee are very, very high. The spread is very high. It takes multiple days to settle, right? It's a very risky thing for businesses to interact with each other. So what RTM does is that they do almost near instant settlement, right? And they actually pay very little in terms of fees. So this actually makes doing business much more easier. So that's also another way that I think there's a lot of projects that I'm dealing with that are in this space. It's a huge space, especially in Latin American and Indian market, and also the African market. So you guys can consider. Okay, so that's USDC in a nutshell. What is Circle Platform? So Circle Platform, how does it actually apply to say if you are building AI? Is that every agent, I believe, would have a need to have a wallet, right? Because on the blockchain, if they're transacting on a blockchain, they have to have the ability to store and also prove that they did something or they have something, right? So every agent would have a wallet. And I believe it's going to be multi-chain operable, right? It's not going to be just single chain. So as a developer, do you put your resources in the AI aspect, or do you want to be building wallets, right? Do you have the team to build both at the same time? Where do your funding go, right? So in this case, what we do is we actually have, of course, the base fundamental layer, USDC and EURC, which is a stable coin, which your agents can transact on. But more importantly, what we have is programmable wallets. I think I'm not going to talk about the other two, but I'm going to focus more on PW, right? So for programmable wallets, think of it like an embedded wallet as a service, right? What happens is that we can actually have API or SDKs in a very familiar Web2 format. So in JavaScript or in, say, React, for example, you use that and you integrate it within your application, or say in future, I'm talking about a project to actually integrate it with an agent network, for example, to allow agents to very simply own wallets at scale, and then they'll be able to tap on the features of the wallet. So I think there are some points here if you all can take photos. But then the key thing is that number one is familiar, because we are actually built with REST APIs and SDKs, which means your developers don't have to be particularly trained in Web3. For example, we work with Grab, and Grab actually spends 0 hours on blockchain development, right? And we actually power their app with the programmable wallets for their NFTs, vouchers, for example. So that was a campaign that we did with them. Second is that we support multiple blockchain. As of last week, we officially onboarded Arbitrum as well. So we have Ethereum, Solana, Arbitrum, Avalanche, and Polygon. So these are the 5 main chains that we support with the wallets. So if you want to have your agents have multi-chain interoperable wallets instantly, then this is potentially something that you can look at. It's secure, so we actually use our MPC security built in. And of course, you can actually pre-sponsor the gas, so your agents don't, I mean, in this case, maybe the agents can already calculate and pay for gas themselves. But if you want to kind of like reduce the complexity, you can actually use the gas station feature, which you can pre-sponsor the gas fees, and then your agents can then draw down from the gas fees as they transact on the wallet, on the blockchain. So it's going to be much simpler. So there's a couple of things that you can look at. And yeah, I think CCTP, I'm going to probably just very quickly go through it, because USDC supports natively about 15 to 16 chains. CCTP allows you to do direct one-to-one transfer natively on different chains. So we don't actually look the tokens, or we don't actually do a bridge version. It's basically, if you transfer USDC from Solana to Ethereum, you actually send it to burn on Solana on the source chain, send it to us to do attestation, verification, and then after that, we'll mint it on the destination chain. So there's no more fragmentation in terms of that. That's more for like users who don't want to see USDC.E, USDC.S, USDC.T, whatever, right? So you want to see just USD or USDC, this is a solution that you can potentially use. If your agents are operating in a cross-chain environment, this could also be a fundamental tech layer that you guys can tap on as well. Just going to remove complexity of the environment. Okay, so again, USDC grant program, I run it. So currently right now, we are doing up to 100K of USDC grants per project. But in all honesty, first-time grantees, usually we will do about 25 to 30,000, depending on the needs of your project. How we execute the grant is very simple. We have a milestone basis. We don't throw money at you, right? So what we do is we co-create with you. We understand your project needs and your milestones. Milestones, we have 2 types. One is product integration milestones. Second is commercial traction milestones. Product integration milestones is very simple. If, say, we pre-agree that, say, you are interested in getting value out of programmable wallets or CCTP or something else, right? We can build that into the integration milestone. And once you integrate it successfully on mainnet and you launch it live, we will disperse the funds. Second kind of milestones are commercial traction milestones, which means, say, we pre-agree that you aim for 1,000 MAUs or 50,000 monthly transaction volume, for example, right? We pre-agree on that, it's co-created with you, it's within your roadmap, it makes sense for your business, then we will settle on that, and then that will be a second milestone. So that's how we actually work in terms of the USDC grant. But beyond the financial side, a lot of projects like that, we actually work with them on the co-marketing front. So if you guys are heading to Breakpoint, I'll be there. We have a booth there. And if right now we have a project that we actually part of our grant program. We will feature them and have them tell their story at our booth. We're going to do this constantly at every other major conference that we are doing. So this is part of also like how we support projects that is working with us. Finally, of course, you can skip all the help desk and all the tickets. You work through me, and I will point you to the right person in a 1,000-man organization within Circle who exactly you need to work with, right? So if you work with large corporations, that's the headache. As a small project, work through me. I'll tell you this is the person. I'll do the connection, and then you can continue to progress with Circle, right? So those are three main values that we work with. Yes. So this is a bit outdated. I think we dispersed about committed about $1 million in grant since April. We selected about 40 plus projects already. It's all worldwide, but of course my preference is APAC projects because I'm from here, right? So of course if you're here, do reach out to me. Even if you're from out of town, still reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help you. And yeah, we have a credits program which is relatively simple. Like all SaaS projects, you have credits, $100 to $1,000, depending on your needs. But that's really for you to deploy it when you're actually really using the product, right? So also ultimately that's all the projects we have, all the support structure we have. If you are interested in working with us, you have some idea on how you want to work with us, do scan a QR code, let me know. We can catch up later event. Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Ian, thank you so much. Any question for Ian? No? So you guys always catch us with Ian privately, and he will be available. Oh, you want to have a question?
Yeah, hi. So which AI projects right now have you guys partnered with? Any AI projects currently?
I don't like to publicly say names, but you can talk to me later. But I do see some projects that I would like to support on a grant basis as well. I think this on the panel, if you were here, I was talking about IP-related projects or say social metaverse type of projects where it's more gaming related, for example. Infrastructure or ecosystem type of projects as well. So say if you're enabling people to build on AI easier, low code, no code, for example, those are projects that we would love to have a chat with. But of course, we don't just work with AI projects, we work with all types, right? So yeah.
Thank you so much for your questions. All right. Thank you, Ian. So for the next, we'll have the panel discussion on data ownership in the AI era. So let's welcome to the panelist, Tong Du, the CPO of Aura Chain and CEO of Distill AI. Please come up to the stage. And Benson, the Chief Reigning Officer of Nubila. Benson, please have a seat. And Maxen Ekran, from co-founder of Oracus. Andrew Goldsky, founder of Gaia. Am I pronounced correctly? Gaia. All right. Please come up to the stage. And the moderator. Oh, Rajik Sain, the marketing strategy at AI Network. I'll hand it over to you.
Hey, I think we're missing... Oh, yeah. So, how are you doing?
Hello.
Nice to see you. I think we're missing just one person. Yeah? So who are we missing? We're missing Simone, I think. Simone? No? Okay, cool. Okay, so I think we're gonna start like this. So, hope you all are having a great event. I know I've learned quite a lot. And I know food's just been served, so obviously everyone's on that food. I'm going to have it after this. So, my name is Rajik Singh. I'll be moderating this event. I do marketing and strategy at a project called AI Network, which is a blockchain-based AI development ecosystem where you can create your own AIs and own all the value they create through the blockchain. So, we've got some great speakers today lined up for you. We're going to be discussing a topic which actually I find quite fascinating myself, which is data ownership in the era of AI. So we'll start with introductions. So can all our panelists give us a very quick intro on yourselves and the projects you're working on, please? Hold on, one just you good? Cool. Okay, I'll just pass you the mic. Okay, so.
Thank you. Hi there, my name is David Williams. I am the head of the AI lab at Assister. Assister is a company which is creating a network of small language models. You can also think of them as expert language models, and it's all on chain, including credit, attribution, and incentivization.
Hey, my name is Andrew. I am the Global Marketing Director for Gaia. We are building an open source developer framework to build AI agents and then retain ownership of the knowledge bases that people are creating with AI agents to build a living knowledge network that is more incentive aligned than centralized systems.
Hello, my name is Benson. My background is in international finance, and I'm specialized in data-driven growth strategy. I'm also the co-founder and chief training officer of Nubila, and is a ESG data oracle designed to revolutionize the data collection and utilization. Thank you.
Fantastic. So our first talking point is on different data ownership models. So why is data ownership significant in the age of AI, and what does it mean to you? And how do different data ownership models, like distributed, centralized, impact the development and deployment of AI technologies? So whoever wants to come in on that first.
I'm happy to take that one. So a big narrative around Gaia is that we're positioning ourselves against more traditional centralized AI platforms where the standard mode of operation there is to essentially scrape the internet for all of the data and IP and unique knowledge sources that people have already created, and then put it in a black box and then regurgitate it back out to all of the users that are interacting with that platform. Gaia's model is to give users more ownership over the training data that they are providing to these AI models, and then incentivizing the use of that knowledge base so that they can eventually monetize it and retain the rights over their IP and proprietary data that they're already working with. So we think that's the future. Generally, decentralization when it comes to retaining rights over IP and training data for AI it seems like a good solution, and definitely want to hear what you guys think too.
Do you want to come in on that, David?
Yeah, sounds great. You know, for me, I think ownership really means two things. One, it means credit assignment and basically reward, right? So if your data is used in some way, you should get some benefit from it. For example, we have a model that is a novel attribution method for RAG. So let's say you contribute some data, and we find that during inferencing time, your data is being pulled out as a vector. You'll get some tokenized reward from that. So in that sense, you know, it's a very clear way to basically receive benefit from data that you've contributed. I think the other part of it is about accountability. You know, when you say, hey, this has your name on it, right? That's like saying, you know, you're accountable for this if something goes wrong with it, right? So you also have a sense of being responsible for quality as well. So yeah, I think those are two sides of the same coin.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you for those answers. So we're going to move on to blockchain and decentralized technologies. So how do blockchain and decentralized technologies change the dynamic of data ownership? And can blockchain systems provide greater control and transparency for data contributors to protect their rights and protect their rights? So Ben, do you want to come in on that?
Yeah, sure. It's a great question for me, actually. Yeah, I think the blockchains can, centralized AI and also the service system has a single point feature that it can be inaccurate and outdated and also can be changed, which is make it unreliable. So, for example, the current weather data and like ESG data, all kinds of environmental data, they all controlled by a single entity, which is like cannot be used by a high value decision making, like hedge fund, like insurance companies. So what we build is like a decentralized database, Oracle, and we can realize the data, all kinds of ESG data, and we provide it to like high value, like financial services, energy services, and to make it like all on-chain and to make more profitable decisions. It's so different. And we also share the revenue with our like contributors. So traditionally, one of the largest, I can't say the name, the largest weather network, they collect data from the users, the contributors, but they do not share any revenue with them. Or maybe they share a little bit fixed revenue to them. But what we do is we can dynamic the different value for weather data for different areas has a different value, right? So we can make it all on-chain, and we can make it get more like, revenue from the demand side, and we can pay out to the users and make the community-owned database. Thank you.
I also just think that the only real way to track the usage of a lot of these knowledge bases that people are contributing to AI networks is through a blockchain, right? Like, that's the only way to truly guarantee that anytime somebody interacts with like the API end of whatever the system looks like, it's logged somewhere in a trustless way where you can log that and then figure out what the incentive mechanism looks like for like a streaming payout afterwards, which sounds like something you're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Andrew. And I want to dovetail and sort of echo what you just said and tell you how we're doing it at Assister. So every time someone contributes data to an Assister model, every time a data validation event happens, like someone identifies an error in some data or some misinformation that needs correction, all of that is logged on-chain. And we don't actually put the data itself on-chain. What we do is we put, like I say, a cryptographic signature of it on-chain, maybe some metadata like size in bytes and some timestamp or something like this. And also we have a novel score about data quality. So we'll also maybe like decorate that on-chain with a quality score as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I can also just say, like, Gaia's approach is similar. Our draw is that it's an open source framework, so anybody can start building their own AI agents. And then the crypto economics backend is almost like the icing on the cake at the end, and there's going to be staking and slashing mechanisms on certain nodes that people deploy holding those knowledge bases so that it can incentivize proper and accurate data being shared within the ecosystem. So.
Amazing.
Thank you for those answers. I actually totally agree. I think data ownership through the blockchain is key, absolutely key. So we'll move on to the next one. So how can AI systems be designed to respect data ownership? And what technical solutions can ensure that data contributors maintain control over their information?
That's a great question. So, first, one thing I described was our RAG attribution model. So when we pull out some vectors from a database, we know who those vectors came from, and we can remunerate them properly. So I think that really helps. I think I want to talk about the future of that to discuss a little bit of our R&D, which is, let's say you're in a fine-tuning paradigm. What does all this mean with fine-tuning? So when you have a model that's not just as pulling something out of a database and generating off of it, how do you know, like, say, what proportion of the parameters being activated come from some user versus another, right? I think there's a company that's doing that with images called as TESS, if I remember correctly. And what they're doing is they're saying, okay, we can remunerate an artist based on how much of their style was in a generated image. A little bit about what's going on in the R&D in our labs is we're also looking at as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I am but a lowly marketer. I don't fully, I can't give as detailed of an answer to how, on the technical end, like, what happens when a vector database is activated, and like where is the function called to like make some payout happen or something like that. But I definitely can say that this is the direction we're moving in, and this seems like a really good step forward. The narrative in general of incentivizing data and finding new things within the technical stack to make this happen is really interesting. And I think we're going to see an explosion of kind of modularity within the ecosystem to figure out where different players fit in. There's a lot of like data availability and data quality AI projects popping up, which I think are going to be really important, and they might just fit in the middle of something like the AI agent and then the incentivization mechanism that is kind of on the back end of that. So we're super early. I think a lot of this is going to shake out pretty soon, and excited to see where it goes.
So I have an idea with that. Like a current for Nubila, current where data is like a traditional like 3G cell phone network, and we cannot do anything actually build on it. So after we have more hyperlocal, like more accurate weather data, and now on chain we can allow more developers to build apps over the database. So it's like 4G network, 5G network. So we can build everything over it. So it's a way to help the community to build AI data, right?
I'm gonna add one thing. Great. Yeah, I'd like to add one thing about what we're doing at Assister with regard to ownership of models. We actually have two tokens. We have the Assister token, which is the ASRR, and that's a utility token that people can use to pay for using the language models, and also that are used for basically distributing rewards. We also have a management token. So owning a stake in the model and owning management tokens basically gives you direct ownership of the project and also control. And the way we're doing that is creating mini DAOs. So every model actually has its own mini DAO at Assister, which is a really exciting model, I think, for everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you for those answers. So next question is something which I found quite fascinating myself. So it's about data ownership from generative AI. So when AI generates information, data, or results, who owns that data? And any collective insight generated from AI, derived from AI, who owns that data?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that is useful about Gaia is that you can essentially deploy these AI agents on your local machine, so you don't have to worry about security and privacy related to that. And the answers that are generated like within your own node, if you are accessing that, you will eventually be able to set parameters of understanding who is interacting with that data based on the wallet address. And since you've built it with your own knowledge base, the vision for us is really to create like a layer around that to track the wallet addresses that are interacting with that knowledge base plus the LLM to create the model front end, and then give the developers the flexibility to be able to design what the economic side of that looks like for them and set the parameters of, every single time somebody interacts with this, there's a charge that comes out of a liquidity pool somewhere for like 5 cents per query or something like that. So Guy's trying to put it in the hands of the developers without being too strict about a centralized owner of that data and those answers specifically.
I guess I have a relatively radical answer for this question. Maybe I actually want to turn it on the audience for a second. So in the audience, who uses either ChatGPT, Claude, or Olama like all the time? Yeah, me all the time. Okay, so everybody is doing this all the time. And when you generate some data with it, and you think, and answer me honestly, who owns that data? Just give me your real answer. You do, right? You do, the prompt engineer. You're like, that's mine, right? So I think if we look at how we live today and what our actions are saying, it's the prompt engineer who owns the data. It's bold, but there it is,
Yeah, it's okay for me. It's not being Nubila about generative AI. I don't want like any data generated, weather data generated from the AI.
Actually, I just want to add something here as well. Because actually, that question you asked, I would have thought it would be OpenAI who owns that data. For example, for example. Okay. So I mean, I've learned something new there as well.
I think the issue is that when you're querying something like ChatGPT, you're essentially training the model for OpenAI, right? So you're still contributing information to them to kind of like build out this kind of centralized Borg kind of mentality that's just like scooping up new information from anywhere it can, including the data that is coming in from the queries. And I think that is like, if you zoom out, that's kind of more the macro issue of centralized services like that. So it's one thing to like own the outputs, but it's a different thing to be in control of the inputs and choose what you want to share. So like if you're an enterprise and you have proprietary data that you want to share, and you want to work with an LLM to look at like your financials or your patents or something like that, but you don't really want that information to go out. I don't know if there's a really good like protocol on the centralized AI side to guarantee that your information isn't being shared somewhere else. And with a decentralized paradigm, that solves for it because you can essentially shape where that data goes and how you control it and then who has access to it.
So recently I've started using the model Qwen2 from Alibaba, which is an amazing model. If anybody out there who has not tried Qwen on Olama, you should definitely try Qwen2. 7B is amazing. And you know, I use it for all sorts of things every day, and the results that they produce, I put my name on it, I put it in reports, and I submit it, and it's all on my local machine, and you know, like basically, I actually put my own name on it as my own work product. So my answer of just like practicing what I preach is like, actually, I own that.
To be fair, that's a good way of doing it. I would do the same thing. I just want to add something here as well, actually. So at AI Network, we're also working on this. So we've created an open source LLM. And in order to interact with the LLM, you have to sign in with your wallet. And each interaction costs a tiny bit of money. It's like 0.001 USD. It's tiny. But all the data that comes out is owned by you as a wallet holder because every piece of data is digitized as an NFT. So also you can create your own LLMs like you can on ChatGPT, and equally each one is digitized as an NFT. So there's no question of ownership of who owns that data. It's you as a wallet holder. And because each piece of data, each LLM, each bot is an NFT, they can be bought, sold, even rented to other people. So essentially, as a user with a wallet on this LLM, on our LLM, on AI Network, you can create your own bots and sell them, or rent them, or there's no question as to where that data goes, or rather, who owns that data. So yeah, I thought to me, it's a fascinating thing.
Can I add one thing to that, which is, yes, it's amazing to think of it as a token and $0.001 dollars and cents, something like this. But also, you reminded me, I want to talk about like the value of the labor of selection, right? Because a prompt engineer doesn't just blindly copy the output. You actually look through it and you say, yeah, I like that, I like that, I like that. Even though the amount of labor is going down, like that's actually still your labor, right? And your biases, right? Your selection bias, your effort, your review, your fact checking, right? Yeah.
No, it's true. It does. Yeah, because you're the one putting the work in, essentially, and then that belongs to you as the NFT. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for those answers. So the next question, we're going to move on to a little bit of the legal side of it. So data and IP. So can you comment on any legal challenges in this space? For example, the key legal challenges surrounding data ownership in AI. So particularly concerning IP rights. I mean, I don't know if anyone's a legal expert here, so maybe we can just go on the surface here. Anyone want to come in on that first?
Yeah, I mean, I would just kind of go back to what I was saying before around the privacy issues, right? I think it's really important for companies to get right data sharing and what should be public and what should be private. So from my perspective, I think that's the most important thing to figure out. And the tighter we can all get on those security practices, the better off we're all going to be collectively in the space.
You know, I think let's look at one of the famous cases recently, which is OpenAI versus New York Times. New York Times versus OpenAI. You know, the fact that ChatGPT was basically producing verbatim text from the New York Times, I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I mean, that's what Google does every time you search Google. But I guess the problem is that it was deemed to be unfair. So what I would do is I would think more about this in terms of fairness, because people tend to sue other people when something, well, getting sued in America is a big compliment. If you haven't gotten sued, you haven't done enough awesome stuff yet. You know what I mean? But also about fundamental fairness. And so I think that, if you look at now what's happening with ChatGPT, where they're partnering with Condé Nast for travel travel insights, right? That's going to be a powerfully positive relationship and cause no legal drama.
I had another thought, but I lost it. No, not Condé Nast. It's okay.
No? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything to add, Benson? Are you good? Okay. So, the next one, we move on to data privacy. So, does distributed data ensure privacy, and how does it ensure privacy, or rather distributed data ownership?
Well, I'll say it doesn't ensure data privacy. By the way, we also have to think about what we mean by the word privacy, right? But let's say privacy means that you can't just go and steal it. Maybe, right? So like sort of theft prevention. In this case, decentralized data actually helps because if one compartment or one silo of data gets compromised somehow, the blast radius is limited. So it doesn't ensure it in a 100% sense, but it definitely reduces the damage that can occur in terms of a compromise.
Yeah, actually for the ESG part about the privacy, it's actually decentralized method is much better than like our traditional centralized way because the data, the content data should be like more private on chain actually. Because the traditional centralized way to collect data and they know who you are and they know what's like the weather data your place, whose place. But for the decentralized way, we can get different precision, different users can like run the data together to make it more private. It's the way,
Yeah, just would echo what you guys say. The less centralized points of failure we can have, the better.
Thank you. So our last point, and then we'll move on to questions, if anyone have any questions. So our last point is on future trends in AI and data ownership. So do you see or do you expect any emerging trends in data ownership that could shape the future of AI?
Well, okay, so like I was saying with some of our R&D at a sister, I think in the fine-tuning paradigm, we have a long way to go in terms of credit attribution. So I think that will be a real paradigm shift in explainability when we can say what proportion of the neuronal activations in a model can be attributed to one contributor or another. It's easy in a RAG sense, or it's relatively simple in a RAG sense, but I don't think anybody knows how to do it yet in the sense of like a fine-tuned language model. I think there's one really interesting way to visualize it, which is, I don't know if you have not heard of the paper called Integrated Gradients, also known as automatic attribution. I highly recommend reading this paper, and there's a really cute example where this is about attribution in image recognition. So you can take an image and you can ask a model to classify it, and there's a picture of a cute cat. Of course it's a cute cat, right? And then you ask this algorithm to show you which parts of the image were the parts that it used to determine if it was a cat, right? So it'll say, okay, so the spiky part on the ears and the little cute nose, that's the cat part of that thing, right? So in a similar sense, if we can take that to something like expert language models and say, based on basically maybe the flow of gradients, this is some proportionality of how much your contribution has helped, so we can reward you fairly. That would be amazing. And I guess there's some level we won't know, like how much utility did the user actually derive from your contribution. But at least we can look at it from the part that we control in the model.
Actually, it's very good for our business because, for the traditional way, only one organization can win from the game, the generator who collect the data. But for now, it's for decentralized way, it's also for DePIN, it's like win-win-win. So users can win from the contribution. And the demand side can win the data for more accurate, like better coverage data from network. It cannot find anymore before. But, and also us, we also can win from the game, from demand and supply side. So it win-win-wins for our business.
So one trend that Gaia is kind of banking on is this idea of specialized agents versus do-it-all agents. So when you think of ChatGPT, it's kind of a jack of all trades at a lot of things. I mean, it's really, really good, obviously, and it knows a lot about a lot of information, but there are certain frontier fields like novel research that's happening in universities or new protocols being developed in crypto, to just new things happening within the AI space, and it might not have access directly to those pieces of information. So the idea with Gaia is that you can be a researcher at an institution, spin up your own node on everything that your team is working on there that is like bleeding edge research, and then be able to interact with that and potentially publicize it and bring it out to the students and publications and everybody that is paying attention to that space. So this idea of like a hyper personalized agent that you can customize and train with like the latest data and IP is something that we're really hoping will take off over the next couple years, and I think there's a huge opportunity there. And that goes for consumer AI applications too. Custom AI agents that are trained on your tweets and your writing and things like that to represent you online could be a really, really big vertical coming up. And a lot of the systems that currently exist that are kind of industry leaders in the space aren't really focusing on that aspect of things too much.
I'd like to add one more thing as well, which is, so at Assister, one thing we are doing right now for our go-to-market strategy is we're releasing 500 ideas for models as a bounty. So we have like a menu of models that we recommend that the community pick up and create. And so we're going to issue bounties against these models. And wouldn't that be so awesome? And you can create cover art and personalities for your models and stuff like that. So I think what we're all doing here and in the generative AI space is we're kind of turning the web inside out. We're making it a more fluid place, a more fluent place, a place where we're not just looking at static content, but the content is actually coming to life kind of before our eyes. Stack Overflow is a good example of something which is static, but imagine having a conversational Stack Overflow, which is more fluid. Then how do we do points? How do we issue bounties there? So I think the combination of social factors, gamification, rewards and incentives, and this idea of turning the web into a more fluent place is gonna continue to change the world for the next 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. I read a paper about this today called the Internet of Intelligence, right? Which is the web is going to change now from a static place to a kind of a fluid, dynamic place. And that should change everything for all of us, right?
One other thing I can add there is that I think almost like deep-in abstraction is going to become big soon. So, we had Akash speaking up here earlier, right? And I think they're doing some really awesome things in the decentralized compute space. But I think the more we can kind of like tear down this idea that like, crypto and blockchain is kind of user-facing and you have to interact with it in a specific way that's, not super intuitive for people that aren't in the space. The more we can tear down those walls and just have it like be a piece of your tech stack that's kind of running in the background that you don't have to think about, I think it's going to streamline access to a lot of these things. It's like getting access to certain AI agents or compute for the agents instead of setting up everything like explicitly. It's just going to be kind of like a more polished, easy to use portal kind of living in the back end that's, just melted into everything else, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you for those answers. So I'm just mindful about the time. So I'm going to hand over to the audience now. So does anyone have any questions for our panelists? Anyone? Yeah, anything at all. But I suppose you've covered the topics pretty well. Like, I've learned a lot, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, we good? Okay, so thank you so much for listening. This is the Senga panel, so please give our panelists a round of applause. Thank you.
All right. So thank you so much for the panel too. And it's very, very inspiring, especially when everyone is a creator, giving prompt to the AI, and then you can actually have the IP of the content that generated, which is really good. So before we started to panel 3, we have an announcement. Everyone get their lottery tickets, right? Can you raise your hand if you all get your lottery tickets? if you don't, get to our reception and get the lottery ticket. So it will be announced tonight. Yes.
Okay, I just want to explain a bit about the lottery. The lottery is actually, okay, who's from Singapore over here? All right, have you heard of this company called Toto? All right, can someone briefly explain to our foreign friends what is Toto?
You guess a number and then you win. A lot of money.
All right, so it's actually a government is it a government company? Okay, you said, it's not me. All right, so the Toto is actually a government lottery, and it will open tonight, right? So each of you that have registered actually has a Toto coupon, right? If you did not get it, I'm not sure if a reception will want to give you again. Okay, so one person should have one, and I think it opens tonight, right? Tonight, and the cash value is 2.5 million in what currency? Okay, so minimum is 2.5 million Singapore dollar. So we wish you good luck. All right? Huh? Oh, not government, not government. Okay, all right. We call it government link, right? So go to the website, the Toto website, and check the results, okay? Tonight, right? After 6, all right? So if you win it, if you win it, come to us, we will claim for you, okay? All right, thanks.
Thank you, Zach. I wish you all the best to win this lottery. So panel 3, we will have the discussion about the next billion-dollar opportunity, identifying AI-driven Web3 startups. So it's all about the money talk, where the money goes to invest which type of AI from the expert. So we have the Nathaniel Christian from Tokenomic by Indodex, which is the largest Indonesian crypto exchange. Nathan, please come up stage. And Abby Wang, the head of Wu Innovation Hub, WuX. Abby, thank you for coming. Please come upstairs and sit. And Rio, head of marketing of Impossible Finance. Please come, please take a seat. And Raymond, chief intern. I'm sure that he's not really the intern, he's actually the founder of the Most Far Capital. Please. Nathan, please come upstairs.
Hi, Raymond.
All right.
Nice to meet you. Hi, Raymond. Nice to meet you.
So we have all the VC and investor and people who support the AI-driven startups up here. And so first of all, I would like you to introduce yourself and your role in the company. Maybe start it with...
Hi everyone, I'm Rio. I'm head of marketing at Impossible Finance. Impossible Finance is essentially incubation accelerator company that has Launchpad and also these days node sale platform. So we've been doing node sale this year. We supported and hosted and sales of those leading node sale projects such as Aether, Carve, Sophon, and Zai. And in total, we actually raised more than 250 million this year, which was a pretty impressive number. We've been, helping all those projects in launching tokens and also, with go-to-market strategies. And we're here to stay and, trying to help all those Web3 projects. It's nice to meet you. Thank you.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Abby here from Wu. So essentially we have two products.
the central exchange called OX. We have spot and perp trading. We also have a DEX called UFI. We are live on 11 different VM chains. For the spot swap, we also have the perpetual DEX. Yeah, so I am leading the ecosystem as well as the innovation hub, which is similar to like a accelerator incubator type of project, which we also invest in early stage projects. Yeah, thank you guys.
Hi guys, GM. I haven't heard GM any today. Hi, I'm Niall, CMO of Tokenomics. So we are fully backed and owned by Indodex, which is the largest crypto exchange in Indonesia that have been operated for more than 10 years with 7 million users. So Tokenomics, what we do is actually, we do decentralized community VC. Actually what we aim is to helping crypto retail investor to be able to participate in early stage investment. So for those retail that would like to participate in private round, in pre-seed round or seed round, they could join Tokenomics to be able to join in Web3 promising projects. And we have invested to several promising projects such as Redacted by PG Group, Lingo, RWA, D-Labs, Average, Afari Saga, and many more actually. Thank you.
Hey guys, my name is Raymond. I'm the chief intern / founder of Mosval Capital. Okay, thanks. Thank you. Yes, so Mosval Capital is actually a liquid token fund. So we do fundamental research based on liquid tokens, analyze different tokens, merits and flaws, if any, to find out the opportunity in the secondary market. So previously, I was actually an investment banker and also an internet startup veteran. I've been looking at AI for, I think, almost a decade now. I was looking at the previous generation of AI before the GPT thing took off. So it has been, I guess, a decade of AI evolution unfolding from our eyes. So happy to share my views today with you guys.
Thank you so much. And I haven't reintroduced myself. My name is Peko. I'm the co-CEO of PundiX. And for PundiX, we also have set up a AI funding for the startups. So we started to accept the application. So we will pick up the 3 most outstanding startups that would have the potential to deploy in the market and to generate the real world cases. So each startup will receive 100,000 worth of USD resource. And if you are interested, you can go to incubator.pundi.ai. So we will look forward to accept the application here. So let's get started. Since we are talking about the AI-driven Web3 startup, all the buzzwords. So what is your definition of that, and how do you look at those startups? So maybe we start from Raymond.
Okay, sure. Okay. So I think AI and crypto startup is actually a very interesting concept. This is a new concept that was literally, somehow was born in after the GPT was launched. So no one really talked about the use of AI in previous cycle, in 17-18 cycle, in 2021 cycle, until 22. And people were like, this is actually a buzzword. It could be a good narrative to actually push up my token price. Okay, then I switch and pivot to AI token, right? I think that's not like really good fundamental investment for us. So the way we look at AI crypto startup is that they have to use some kind of AI technology, and that's actually a real thing, have a real use case. Like Peko mentioned, you guys look at applications. We actually believe that applications are very important projects for us to examine and review and to invest. We don't really invest in LLMs because that's just too big and it's too difficult for crypto startups. And they have to use some kind of AI technology plus some kind of permissionless, composable, or smart contract infrastructure to make the AI application better. So I think that's something we definitely need to pay a lot of attention to. We don't just invest in a project because they have AI in the ticker or they claim to be something sleepless AI or whatever AI project. We don't believe that. I think that's just a hype, and that hype will just go away very soon. Yeah.
And now, Nathan, sorry.
Okay, interesting
Nate?
answer.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, for me, personally, blockchain, crypto, and plus AI is something interesting, like indeed with Raymond, which the concept of decentralization that blockchain offered to us is actually is something that solving a real problem. And currently, several startups were trying to combine the AI technology into the blockchain technology as well to be able to solve the real case problem. So in my case, actually, the definition of AI and blockchain is actually if those could, if they could combine actually the AI solution into the blockchain solution as well. Because technically, a lot of people just, like Raymond mentioned, a lot of people just adding AI into their startup or adding blockchain into their startup without solving any kind of real case problem. So, and that's my main point.
So do you think it's more for the application side or the infrastructure? Which type of startups that you are looking into has more potential?
It's all about the infrastructure, actually.
Infrastructure. Abby?
Yeah, so I don't think AI and Web3 is a new concept. It's been around, right? From last cycle, we've seen projects that's already building the space. For example, Singularity Network, Ocean Protocols. They are more of the experts in the data marketplace, things around that aspects. However, it's getting, it has become a very sexy narrative, especially during this cycle, because I mean, for the obvious reasons, there's so much mass adoption about ChatGPT in the Web2 space. And when we go to like Silicon Valley, for example, people are talking less about crypto, but more about AI. But to me, I think AI and crypto, they naturally go together because of the intuitive concept of the crypto itself, right? It's permissionless, trustless, decentralized governance, for example. A lot of people, I mean, it's against centralized censorship. So all these concepts that are very attractive to a lot of the users who care about their own privacy, for example. But when we are talking about AI during this cycle, I feel that apart from the infrastructure that everybody has talked about, we are looking more into the apps. For example, whether there's combination of AI / something else, whether it's AI security, whether it's AI gaming, AI socials. I think there's a lot more in the space. However, in terms of mass adoption, I think we're still quite early in this space. So I guess for me, or at least for Wu, we really want to see something that's quite interesting, that blends well of the two sectors, rather than just putting AI behind the domain, I would say. Yeah.
Correct. What about Rio?
So everybody almost covered everything. So I would just simply say that all the projects leveraging AI technology to enhance, let's say, decentralization, efficiency, security, all those stuff could be AI-driven Web3 startup. And speaking of efficiency, well, by the way, I'm not a tech person. I cannot really go deep into AI. But speaking of efficiency, I'm also trying to make small steps by myself. For example, a few days ago, I used AI tools to make a job description of the, one of the newest members. And it takes very, just five minutes to make a very good looking job description. And it's really changing the game, in the industry. And I think making that kind of small steps inside the projects also, something important that we can do.
So I believe you are all looking into investing or to support the funding for the AI startup. So when you look at the startup, how do you see it's mature enough for you to invest it in? And how do you see the scalability of this startup? Because when you invested in the startup, you want a return from it. So how do you see those indicators? Maybe starting from real, yeah.
Well, in my opinion, whether it's AI-driven startups or usual startups, I think one of the most important thing is product market fit. Is a project really solving a pain point in the industry, or really solving the real world problems? That's one of the things I would look at, and I think one of the most important things. And also another thing would be, probably I would look at community, especially like all those tech communities, like developers, engineers, who are supporting a project. Because if they are really supporting the project and also really get involved in the project, it's one of the metrics that we can say that it's really needed, and it's really something useful in the industry.
Yeah, I think I agree 100% on what Rio mentioned. Product market fit is definitely one of the top checkbox we need to check when it comes to investment. I guess when it comes to technical aspects, I'm not a technical person either. I'm more on the BD front, so I evaluate projects based on their, I guess, commercialization part of things. But I guess in terms of the technical stuff, I haven't seen too many AI projects yet, but I feel that a lot of projects I've talked to lately, because they want higher valuation, they want to raise more money, obviously, so they overcomplicate the technical side of things. So when I look into the deck and I see somebody that's saying they are creating something that's gonna revolutionize the industry, that's kind of like a question mark to me, right? Even in the Web2 space, it's very difficult to create something from scratch, from very new, which is not proven. So to me, I feel that if you really want to talk about mass adoption, talk about AI/crypto, you need innovation for sure. We cannot really invest in anything that's a simple fork of the existing project. However, we do want to see some improvements or some small technical integration, technical innovation on a certain part. Yeah, so for me, I think that's more value adding as compared to some project that's saying they are the first in the space. Yeah, just to build more on the practical side for me. Yeah,
I think Abby, you're really spot on. Very practical. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I made it with Rio and Abby as well that I will start with the POC or the proof of concept as well about is there any problem that they're going to solve or not, right? Or is there any demand that would like to try their product or not before they would like to scale their product, or before they would like to go to the ventures as well, right? So after they prove the POC, we are going to see is there any kind of competitive landscape that offer the similar solutions, right? For example, if we are trying to solving this problem, is there any kind of startup that already solved this problem far away before you started, right? And the latest one, because since it's the Web3 space, we still need to see the hype of the project itself, because technically the attention of the attention from the community, it still matter, because within the Web3 space, attention is something more important. And when you want to offer product to the community, but the community itself doesn't feel that this is something new, this is something that could solve the problem, how come we could offer to the mass adoption, right? Because technically the Web3 community are the one that already know about the crypto, blockchain, AI, and so on. So how come we couldn't convince them first, right?
So do you think the community equal to the users of the
Correct,
projects?
because Web3 community could be perceived as the early adopter as well. So if they couldn't feel that this is something that could solve my problem, how come we could open to another audience?
That's very good indicator. Yeah, Raymond?
Yeah, exactly. I actually agree with Nathan a lot. So, but I also believe that so sometimes when crypto AI startup founders think of new ideas, they shouldn't just focus on like our crypto insiders, crypto community. They should be looking at the border space. They should be looking at the entire world and see what's the problem exactly that the AI world the real world is facing, and how we can use crypto approach to solve the problem. So your question was about technical barrier, technical analysis, right? So I think it's, for me, I don't really look at the technical side of these things because if we are looking at the most important backbone of AI infrastructure, we go to Facebook, we go to OpenAI, we go to the big companies that actually build big models, right? These are the infra of the AI industry. But if we are looking at new investment opportunities, we look at the smaller companies, which are just using open source Llama model from Facebook. They make an interesting crypto twist and make the product or the company or the concept viable. So that's something I think that's actually more rare in this industry now. We don't see very good ideas. We see a lot of copycats. So I think it's about the mentality or the crypto twist that's actually more valuable than the underlying tech. Yeah.
Right. So for tech itself could be changed or all the ways. Like before that, when people talk about AI, they will say about machine learning. Now it's all generative AI. So it's kind of machine learning is like the things like all people like throwing behind. Now it's more generative AI. So if you have generative AI, and then people will get more attention to it. And for the founder expertise, so when you invest, and it's very important that you are looking into the founder's profile, right? So what type of founder, how important it is for the AI-driven Web3 startup founders to have a domain of expertise in both blockchain and AI technology, and what other skill sets or background should the investor to prioritize when they look into these leadership teams? Maybe start with Raymond.
I think for me, investing in a new project in a token effectively is investing in the founding team, investing in a founder. So for me, intellectual integrity is the #1 factor. I don't care if he or she is smart or dumb or like have Wall Street experience or Silicon Valley experience. That doesn't matter to me. It's really the intellectual integrity. They're not lying to themselves. They're actually trying to push something forward. They have a big dream, they have big ambition, they have a big idea that is not proven wrong or right yet, but they're willing to give it a try. So I think that's something extremely, extremely valuable. The second attribute will be crypto mentality. So I think crypto is a technology. It's also a marketing scheme. It's many things. So if someone has a very good crypto mentality, they can use tokenomics to launch the project easily. They can use better different marketing things and different technology things to make the project evolve faster. But that's actually a mentality. Someone know how to use that. This mentality is probably more important than other backgrounds. I don't care if he has like a Carnegie Mellon computer science degree or Stanford GSB. I don't care about that. But if he knows how to launch a project and use token to incentivize people to use the project, that would be very, very key.
Thank you, Raymond.
Amazing answer.
Yes, it is.
Amazing
right?
answer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just would like to add something because technically his answer probably could cover everything. But from my side, from my end, I would add like, for me personally, to invest to the founders that been within this space is most important thing compared to other factor. Because before, because if the founders could survive out there without the Web3 community, I do believe they don't need to come to us actually, right? If they could survive out there, if they could prove out there, they could go to other Web2 ventures. A lot of Web2 ventures out there could invest with them. But since this is a Web3 and crypto space, that's I do believe Web3 is kind of over different to the community. And for those founders that would like to bring something to the space, they should come from the space as well, actually. So how come, like I've mentioned previously, how come they could prove something to the community if they never attend or they never come out and prove to the community for what they are trying to build at this moment. So that's the most important thing for me.
Yeah, I think you're pretty good at that. When I meet other founders and if they have more than 7 or 8 years and they actually receive a lot of funding and then they keep building and keep innovating. And then I think this is the team that we are really interested to look into because they survive in the market and then they have the community to support. And I think this is also some of the indicators for the investor, right?
Yeah, so I guess put on my BD hat again. There's 2 parts to that question, right? The first is definitely the core team, the competency of the team, whether they are, based on their like integrity, which is the biggest part. Make sure like they don't rock the investors, they don't rock the users, right? And there's definitely the product side of things as well. Because we are talking about crypto, then we need to look at the economy layer of things, whether the product needs to be on Web3 at all, right? Whether the token has utilities, for example. I think these are the aspects that's very important. But to me, my assessment of the team, or at least the founder, would be, because he would be the front-facing guy, right? There's a lot of requirement. He needs to understand both Web3 as well as AI concepts. He doesn't have to have a technical background, but he needs to explain the technical part to the users, to the investors in layman terms. He also needs to be good at fundraising, for example. But I guess another important part is that he needs to be a good storyteller. For a lot of times I've seen founders, he knows what needs to be done. He's a serious entrepreneur, but if he can't sell his products well, he doesn't know how to build a good story, a good narrative. It's oftentimes very difficult for him to go to market as well.
Very true.
Just want to add this part.
Yes. Real?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention storytelling ability, but it was taken. But once again, I wanted to mention that storytelling, at least maybe one of the founders should have strong storytelling ability, because you really need to sell, your vision or products to, first of all, investors, partners, and users, and also team members, because you need to, involve all those people into your vision and keep building, keep pushing hard. And to do that, I think, the storytelling ability would be very, very important. And another thing I would say it's important is maybe adaptability, because, there are so many changes in crypto industry. Sometimes you have to make very, very, how can I say, bold decision to make pivots. So you have to be really courageous enough and maybe, bold enough to make important pivots. Sometimes it could be painful, but you need to make the steps.
I can feel what you have said. So let's dive into the most important part, which is tokenomics and sustainability. So how should the VC evaluate tokenomics models in AI Web3 startups to ensure the long-term sustainability, and what factor indicate a well-designed, resilient token economic? So it's a very big question, and I believe all of you will be interested to know about. Maybe starting from Rio.
Yeah, again, I think this problem is not only for AI-driven startups, but all the Web3 startups. One of the most important things could be like utility of the token, of course. It should have really clear utility, whether it's for governance, staking, or anything else. I think clear utility will be very, very important. And another thing I want to highlight is, of course, like incentive alignment, between, users and projects and, supporters. All the incentives should be, accurately aligned in order to be long-term, like successful in long term. And also another thing I wanted to say is maybe you don't have to hurry in launching tokens. For example, in case of Aether, we've been providing advisory over a year, but it takes about a year to actually start node sale, because we had to wait actually Aether to make more revenue, like from actual real world business. So it's not always correct to launch token in hasty manner, but also you really need to think about market fit and also all those incentive alignments first.
Thank you. Abby?
Yeah, so I guess coming from a centralized exchange background, to us investing in the projects, we definitely think tokenomics is the largest part. When we talk about like launchpad, launch pool, direct listings, costs, we have to protect the users from misbehavior, for example. So apart from everything Rio mentioned about the project side, as well as the token utility / incentives, we look into the numbers more. For example, like how much token is allocated to the team, to the advisors, to the investors, the ecosystems, right? The treasury, for example, making sure that the team doesn't front run all the investors, doesn't front run the community. Vesting schedule also. So I think this is the most important part for us. Yeah.
Thank you, Abby.
Yeah, for me, actually, for the team that might be having a high ambitious for having the high FDV as well, it's something that we looking to. And the second one, like Abby mentioned, that we need to consider for the allocation for the team, for the investor, other stakeholder, the treasury, and the most important thing is the number or percentage that allocate for the community as well. Because actually, if the founder or the team since the beginning they would like to having more compared to other stakeholders to having the token, it's kind of red flag for us, because technically regarding the FDV, the token allocated to the community, to the investor or the team members as well, we are very considered as well for the vesting period. For example, they do allocate for the team member, but they do implement the vesting period only for a year for team member. I do believe that the team would work as soon as possible, basically. So all of those stuff that we are looking for, actually.
So how many years of vesting period that you think is pretty safe to invest?
For the investor and team member, I would say 4 years.
4 years, okay.
It's pretty safe for us.
Raymond?
I think for me, when I look at crypto projects or AI projects in general, let's say the AI projects, the first question I will ask myself is that, do we really need a token? We may not need a token at all, right? OpenAI doesn't have a token, right? Like Perplexity doesn't have a token. Why do we need a token to sustain the growth or the development of this company? Probably we don't. If we don't need a token, then why do we need to discuss tokenomics? right? That would be the step one question. So most of the companies don't even pass this question. One. Two, if indeed we need a token, and the token needs to have value capture, I'm assuming that the company I'm investing has some value. If it's generating value, the value has to go somewhere. Either goes to equity holders like me, and I'll get a dividend, or I can get IPO or something, right? That's why I invest. Or the dividend, the value capture goes to the token holders. So if the underlying project can actually capture some value created in this ecosystem, then the tokenomics doesn't matter as much. If it's 4 years, 3 years, 5 years, it's okay. It doesn't matter as much because the value will be captured and be transferred back to the holders, which I'll be very happy to see that. But for the tokens that don't have any value at all, I will be happy to receive free tokens if anyone give me. Yeah.
All right. So because of the time, and we will have open the question to the audience. If you have any questions for the panelists on the stage, please raise your hand. No? All right. So I think we have a really, really good conversation about the investment in the AI Web3 driven startups. So if you have any questions, you can always come to those panelists in private and get to know them. And thank you for your time here and your answers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Happy to meet you. Thank you, Rio. Happy to meet you.
So I hope you all enjoyed the session. So we have finished the panels and we have prepared food over there. Please enjoy the food and the drinks and also the networking. Thank you.